Hi guys, Diane Haley is back with Uta Hagen's A Challenge for the Actor, and this one is titled The Exercises, Chapter 10, The Exercises. So, she does have a list of exercises, which is really cool because it's very organized, and it's always something we should be asking ourselves and going through when considering any and every single role. The work that you have to do before really starting a role, before finding, I guess, your lines is pertinent, obviously. It's something that I like to do before a role because I feel like the answers are often in the lines and in the work of the writer. Given, of course, that I put my own personal, flair, I guess, so to speak, into the role. And that's kind of a lot about what this chapter is talking about, is putting your personal self, as we discussed in chapter 4, into the role, into the play. And we do so first, as she puts it, by means of self-observation. So when we think about self-observation, on a daily basis, we might think about maybe something funny that happens in a room or something, and then everyone kind of realizes that it just happened, and and then people become self-aware about what's going on. It might be a serious situation, but then it turns funny because everyone's kind of it kind of feels like you're sitting and watching a television program and it's supposed to be a serious moment, but it's not because something really funny just happened. And then that is how we perceive self-awareness, self-observation. But here what she is talking about is a little bit different. She talks about giving yourself 2 minutes to recreate a situation, not like a problematic situation, just a very simple task, like, for example, getting your mail. You might go out and get your mail one day, and it's sunny, and you've had something to eat for breakfast, and you're well rested and everything like that, and it kind of just goes smoothly. But then the next day it might be raining and cold, and you're just, all you can think about is like a hot cup of tea or a hot chocolate or whatever, and you're fumbling through your mail because your fingers are frozen, you can't find the right key or whatever the situation is, and you're just struggling constantly. So she says to come up with a simple task in which you may be you're just doing something simple, and then trying to find different ways in which different problems can happen and how you would react to those problems. So self-observation is definitely something to practice a lot. She does mention practicing the self-observation exercise because that usually includes you practicing with items, not props, but items and objects that you are going to have relationships with, objects that do affect your circumstances. They're not just props, they're actual things that affect the overall role, and to some degree, not like the whole thing, it's not all about the objects, but to some degree it's it will affect you somehow. So so there's that. And then she goes immediately into the 6 steps. I'll go through all the questions. She's got categorized questions, like extensive questions to the questions that she already has. So she says these questions are the ones that are extremely important before stepping into a role. So here are the questions. Question number 1, or step 1, is who am I? Who am I? What is my present state of being? How do I perceive myself? And what am I wearing? What you're wearing could have something to do with the weather or how you're feeling about yourself today or something like that. It could definitely have an effect. Some people think that the costume doesn't put in the character. I kind of disagree with that. I think it kind of puts me in. that character. I remember playing a woman from the 1940s, and she kind of had to be a very like she always seemed like she was in the eye of not necessarily the public, but the eye of approval or disapproval from her mother. And so she was supposed to be a certain way with her mother, but of course, in a particular scene, she was not. But she was certainly dressed the part. So, it might affect the way that you stand or affect the way that you sit or just the way that you move in general. So who am I? What is my present state of being? Am I sick, healthy? How do I perceive myself? Attractive, unattractive, poor, rich, better, worse, that kind of stuff. And what am I wearing? Okay, step 2. What are the circumstances? Very important. Sometimes some people have a different mood during a different time, or in a different place or something like that. It'll put them in a different spot where it'll make them change the current face of the character of what the audience may see. So, what are the circumstances? What time is it? She talks about the year, the season, the day. What time does my selected life begin? Where am I? In what city, neighborhood, building, or room do I find myself? Or in what landscape? So again, where your character may be sitting might be in a more comfortable place where they can kind of let loose some of their emotions, or they might be in a place where they are restricted from that, and so they have to hold back, or anything of that kind. What surrounds me? The immediate landscape, the weather, the condition of the place, and the nature of the objects in it. So the nature of the objects in it, that's pretty interesting. I just recently auditioned for a horror film, and I kind of imagined maybe some broken glass on the floor, a picture that was like hanging sideways up above. It was very dark. There was like some funny whitish blue lighting kind of hanging off, and there were like different shadows angled all over the place. Certainly you're going to behave in a different way given that kind of environment versus being at your best friend's house and like sitting in her room, just hanging out and talking. That's certainly going to change that. You're not going to be the same character in every kind of a situation that you're in. Where am I? Okay. What are the immediate circumstances? What has just happened or is happening? What do I expect or plan to happen next and later on? So that is something that one of my acting teachers heavily put in our heads was something that he called an event. And I love it because it's the moment in the script where things changed, where it's something that someone has said. He's gonna hate me for that. Or something really that has just happened that's changed the entire scene. Like an idea has evoked in someone's head and they've expressed it, and it's kind of affected everybody in the room. And so it completely, it starts off the story is really what happens there. And when something has just happened, your body might physically change. It might just be at a standstill, or it might kind of relax, or it might just, something goes on, and it's very, very exciting. So there's that one. I'll breeze through that again. What are the circumstances? What time is it? Where am I? What surrounds me? And what are the immediate circumstances? What are my relationships? Is step 3. What are my relationships? How do I stand in relationship to the circumstances, the places, the objects, and the other people related to the circumstances? I know that, for example, there are some times where I have an exchange with another individual, and it may not be the exchange that is ideal with that individual, but because of my current circumstances, those circumstances are, it's changing my entire, like, my mood, essentially. It changes that. And so I'm kind of, you know how you kind of take out things on other people, you really don't mean to, but you're just in such a trapped state of mind because of your certain circumstances that you tend to do things to others, and your relationships with things change because of those circumstances. I remember one film I did where I before the shooting had started, I had picked out some books that I found interesting to me. I was playing a psychiatrist, and, you know, of course, actor psychology is like super interesting to me. So I picked out some books that had intriguing titles, and at one point I stood up very quickly. I didn't really know why. I think I kind of got lost in the scene a little bit, but I stood up very quickly from where I was, and then I turned around and I grabbed one of the books that I had picked out earlier, and I looked at it, and I was like, but I was, you know, I was in a kind of a fit of anger sort of a moment, and I picked up the book and I slammed it, and I just looked away, like I was looking for an answer or something like that. Like I didn't know really what was going on, but that was kind of the improvisational thing that went on, and my relationship with that book changed from before the scene happened to my current circumstances, and the director really, really liked it. It was really cool. It got cut, but she liked it. Okay, so what do I want? What is my main objective, my immediate need or objective? That's often is very interesting to me, because that is often something that is the first thing that a lot of acting teachers will say is the first step, is what is my main objective or my immediate need or objective. And this one is step 4. The need is just like what my teacher with the whole event thing, he talks about it being a need, and a great example he gave was not like really what do I want, but what do I need. He says if you say need instead of want, it heightens up the stakes. It makes you as the actor, or even as an individual person in life, it makes you want to push like more than what you would normally do. So like he said, for example, when I come home after working for 10, 12 hours, after being in the theater for how many ever hours, you know, I just want to go home and I want to go to bed. I want to go to sleep. But I need to pick up my kids from school. And that, to me, personally, that located for me, like, yes, like, I need to do other things, because, you know, you can't leave your kids stranded at school, obviously. I mean, I guess you could, but, I mean, good luck with that. Anyways, so you know, you can want to do a variety of different things, but what is it that your character needs to do? What do they need to get done? You know, what do they need to have happen in order for their ultimate goal to be achieved? I call it an ultimate goal. Woo. Okay, anyways. Step 5, what is my obstacle? What is in the way of what I want? How do I overcome it? So that's something to think about. That is something you will find in your lines, in your script. And then you have to find a way to overcome it. That one I find that you probably don't necessarily get in the script, because I feel like if you are looking at your script and you come across this question, you can say, what is in the way of what I want? Okay, well, my sister Jody, you know, she is causing all these problems, and I'm not going to win this competition if she keeps distracting me or whatever. How do I overcome it? Well, you could look in the script, and the script will say, that, your character says this, that, and the other thing, and I don't know, ties her sister up and throws her sister in the closet for an hour while she practices, or something like that, But at the same time, I kind of feel like if you don't come up in your head with that need that's powerful enough, you're not going to find you're not going to find your inner drive to do what the story says that your character is about to do. And if you are writing, for example, if you're writing this stuff down on a sheet of paper or something like that, following your lines and stuff, I feel like then it becomes planned, and then it shows in your acting. When a character does something like that, when they, need to lock their sister up in a closet for an hour while they practice, it kind of needs to be like, oh, I can't believe she did that, But if it looks planned, or it just looks mechanized, you can really tell. So maybe stop at what is in the way of what I want. And then you think about what's in the way of you want. My sister Jody is distracting. I have to do something about it. And then once it comes in the story, then you do what you need to do so that the whole how do I overcome it is answered. So then it looks like an idea has suddenly popped up in your head and you haven't planned it out. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. That's just my personal take on it. I know I'm about to audition for a role right now that is kind of like that. So we'll see. Okay, so step 6, what do I do to get what I want? How can I achieve my objective? What's my behavior? What are my actions? So that one's kind of a continuation, I think, to question 5. What is my obstacle? How do I overcome it? It's kind of the same thing. What do I do to get what I want? So again, I kind of, in this particular question, maybe if you're going to answer these questions while you're going through your scripts, maybe generalize the answer. So don't be like too specific, I want to say. So what's in the way of what I want? My sister. How can I achieve my objective? I get rid of her. I put her in a situation somehow where she can't bother me. And then in the script, when it comes up while the shoot is happening, you get this like epiphany, like, oh, I know what I'm going to do, and maybe, if your director is cool and stuff, they'll let you do an improvisational deal where, you and the other actor kind of decide like what you're going to do, kind of a thing. And those moments are always really, really exciting for me. I think, I'm not entirely certain, but I believe it was in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, oh gosh, part 2. I think it's part 2. It's that one where Hermione gets tortured by Madame Lestrange, and that part where she gnaws mudblood or something like that on her arm. Extremely painful, obviously, but I think that was, I'm pretty sure that was improvised. I can't remember if I read it in the book or not, but I think that scene was essentially an improv. So Madame Lestrange would be thinking, what's my problem? I don't know where Harry Potter is. What do I do to overcome it? I torture one of his friends until they give me an answer. It's the how that would be the improv, or it's the how that causes that those like effects to happen. So that's pretty much it. She does talk about, practicing and not necessarily using props, but using objects, being self-aware, self-observing yourself, and finding circumstances that change yourself, at a given time. So, just one more time, I will go through in case you missed it or got lost in my words. I know I kind of ramble a little bit. So the 6 steps. Who am I? Sub-steps. What is my present state of being? How do I perceive myself? What am I wearing? Step 2. What are the circumstances? What time is it? The year, the season, the day. At what time did my selected life begin? Where am I? In what city, neighborhood, building, and room do I find myself, or in what landscape? What surrounds me? The immediate landscape, the weather, the condition of the place, and the nature of the objects in it. What are the immediate circumstances? What has just happened is happening. What do I expect or plan to happen next and later on? What are my relationships? How do I stand in relationship to the circumstances, the place, the objects, and the other people to my circumstances? What do I want? What is my main objective? My immediate need or objective? What is my obstacle? What is in the way of what I want? How do I overcome it? What do I do to get what I want? How can I achieve my objective? What's my behavior? And what are my actions? So I hope that you got a lot out of this chapter. I know I certainly did. The next chapter is called the first exercise, which is physical destination. So that should be exciting. I'm not really sure how my weeks to come are going to be. I know I'm a little bit behind in my videos right now. But hopefully I will be able to catch up and keep giving out these little lessons. Comment below if you have any questions about anything. Lately I've been doing a little bit of work. I've been helping people with their auditions. I do use FaceTime. Yeah. Okay. Have a good week, everybody.